Dear Friday, it's been a week since we've spoken, but I just wanted to say you are awesome. This is CNN Student News. We're starting in the Middle East today. Our first story is from Iran. Since last summer, we've been reporting on the controversial nuclear deal between Iran and several other countries led by the U.S. The agreement removed international sanctions on Iran, allowing billions of dollars to flow into its economy. In exchange, Iran is required to significantly limit its nuclear program. But while supporters and critics butted heads in the U.S. about whether this agreement was acceptable, the deal was controversial in Iran too. And with the nation voting today on the makeup of its parliament, it's Iran's first parliamentary election after the nuclear deal went into effect, Fred Pleitgen is there in the Iranian capital reporting on how the issue factors into the vote.
Campaigning Iranian style. Volunteers for the reform movement hand out flyers in Tehran's traffic. They say they're confident, but not certain they'll win. It's unclear what will happen because the Iranians only make up their minds in the last minute, he says. But the moderates' position is much better than that of the conservatives. Tehran is plastered with election posters as a fierce battle between the reformers around President Hassan Rouhani and conservatives around the powerful clergy unfolds.
Many observers view the upcoming elections as extremely important, and also as a referendum on Hassan Rouhani's policies of opening Iran up to the West.
The divisions were exacerbated by the recent nuclear agreement designed to prevent Iran from developing nuclear weapons in return for sanctions relief. We support the Rouhani government and the nuclear deal, this reformist says. We should have a parliament to support and not to block Rouhani's policies. But many conservatives view that as a threat. Death to America, they chant at this hardline rally. They believe Iran has opened itself to American infiltration with the nuclear agreement. We consider the nuclear deal to be American interference, she says, and we will fight against it and hopefully defeat it. Our nation will not allow America to influence our affairs. The decisions Iranian voters make this Friday could do more than just alter the makeup of its parliament. They could also influence the country's course towards the West and, some believe, the stability of its political system.
Crossing the Persian Gulf, we come to the United Arab Emirates, a nation a little larger than South Carolina. While the U.S. state gets more than 50 inches of rainfall each year, the UAE only gets between 4 and 6. The vast majority of its land is desert. Yes, it borders the Persian Gulf, and it has a massive desalination plant to remove the salt from the sea. But without a freshwater source, there are no lakes or rivers in the UAE. Officials have the challenge of meeting the growing nation's needs for H2O. There is a way to make it rain, or more specifically, to make it rain more. It's risky, it's not cheap, and it requires flying a plane into the center of a storm.
At a remote airstrip outside Abu Dhabi,
Research 6, level 6000.
New Zealander pilot Mike Anstis is setting off to do something most would consider impossible in a desert. He's hoping to make it rain.
Just standing fire 2 flares now, radial 015 at 45.
Mike is cloud seeding.
Okay, I'm going to fire left, guys.
He does it by firing salt compounds into the air to increase rainfall.
On the wings of the aircraft, we've got our flares, which when we fire the flares, it burns and it emits a smoke.
That smoke then attracts water vapor, creating bigger droplets. The flares, though, are only effective if launched from inside certain thick clouds.
If you don't like turbulence, well, this is definitely not the flight for you, because when you're cloud seeding, pilots like Mike here, they don't avoid storms, they head right into the heart of them.
Our plane is tossed around in the wind.
Whoa. That's the updraft.
Side to side,
Whoa.
up and down.
Wow, we're dropping.
There is a calculated risk associated with this. We do have to know when it's time to bail out.
How's the weather there, research?
On the ground, scientists at the country's meteorology center track the flight.
So enjoy the weather and hold on.
They started cloud seeding 15 years ago to help sustain a growing population in the UAE, one of the world's top consumers of water. Last year, they flew more than 150 flights. Each costs around $5,000, but they say it's cheaper and greener than operating desalination plants, the UAE's main source of fresh water.
our material that we use is environmental, it's salt. Very small amount that is not affected the environment.
And it may be working.
Rain starting to come here on the window.
Back where Mike first fired flares, a heavy downpour pounds the plane.
Did you just make this rain?
It's a natural rain, but we're trying to increase it.
Scientists are still studying how much water cloud seeding makes and the long-term effects on Mother Nature. But in a region where annual rainfall is just around 3 inches, rainmakers like Mike say this may be the best way to sustain life in the desert. John Jensen, CNN, somewhere over the UAE.
Now, for 3 of the schools that requested a spot on our roll call, we found them all on yesterday's transcript page at cnnstudentnews.com. We're starting in Jaffair, Bahrain. Hello to everyone watching at Bahrain Middle High School. Great to see you. Moving to the capital of Indiana, Ben Davis High School is watching from Indianapolis. The Giants are towering over the Hoosier State. And in the northeastern state of New Hampshire, the capital is Concord, and the Crimson Tide is at Concord High School. What happened in rough water yesterday off New York's Rockaway Beach was a strong reminder of the risks that the Coast Guard takes when making a rescue. An urgent call came in at 2 in the morning. A 76-foot fishing boat had run aground and was taking on water. It had 7 people aboard, and you can see it was close to shore. But the position of the boat in 10-foot waves made it hard and dangerous for the sailors to get out themselves. 5 Coast Guard members tried to rescue them by sea, but their boat capsized in the waves. They were all wearing protective gear and were able to swim in themselves. But the initial problem remained. Rescuers had to find another way to get the fishermen. So the Coast Guard then tried and succeeded by air, lowering a basket by helicopter to get the stranded men off the boat. The Coast Guard said that if the tide didn't carry the damaged vessel away from shore, the plan was to tow it back out to sea. As for the capsized rescue boat, it was eventually recovered on the beach. Before we go, what's cuter than a kitten? Mustache Kitten. This is Sally Ann, though they probably could rename her Charlie as in Chaplin or Groucho as in Marx. Her unusual but natural markings make her the pick of the litter. And even though she's a rescue, you're seeing her at a shelter in California, her sweet disposition and one-of-a-kind facial features are expected to land her a new home at any moment. Simply beautiful. A great way to wear a meowstache. Oh, some might say it's a fashion faux pas or that it's uncattering, but honestly, they're just being catty. It's clearly haute couture, or simply put, the cat's meow. I'm Carl Azus for CNN Student News.